Imagine losing a child to a heinous crime. Heartbreaking, right? Now imagine the person who committed that crime and took your child away from you, standing trial, and is about to get a release. That was the reality for German mom Marianne Bachmeier, whose daughter's murder sparked a nationwide debate about the justice system and victims' rights. What's more interesting is the action she took afterwards. Join me as we explore this heartbreaking yet fascinating story, while we question the nature of justice and its fairness, if it is anywhere close to being fair. Marianne Bachmeier was born on June 3, 1950, and she grew up in Sarstedt, a small town near Hildesheim, Lower Saxony, West Germany, where her parents had fled from East Prussia after the Second World War. Bachmeier was raised in a conservative home with devoutly religious parents. Her father, previously a member to the Waffen-SS, was the stereotypical authoritative figure, a heavy drinker who spent much of his time at a bar close to the family home. Their household was not pleasant, and drinking made her father more aggressive. With her parents divorced and her mother remarried, Bachmeier was perceived as a troubled adolescent and didn't seem to get along with her dictatorial stepfather, and her mother eventually kicked her out of the house. In 1966, at age 16, Bachmeier had her first child, whom she placed for adoption as an infant. She became pregnant again at the age of 18 by her boyfriend. Bachmeier was raped shortly before the birth of her second child, and her second child was also placed for adoption as an infant. Bachmeier began dating the manager of Basa, a pub where they both worked at, in 1972. She became pregnant for the third time at the age of 22. On the 14th of November of 1972, Bachmeier's third child, Anna, was born, and she raised her alone. Bachmeier would take Anna to work at the pub, and over time, she grew to be independent, even at a very young age. This independence may have been the first cause of the tragedy that Anna would face. On the 5th of May of 1980, Bachmeier slept into the morning because she had worked late the previous night, and so Anna got herself ready and left for school. But sadly, Anna never got to school. She had an argument with her mother the previous day, decided to skip school, and went to the neighbor's apartment instead. Bachmeier woke up at some point and got ready for the day's work. By the time she was back in the night, her daughter was nowhere in sight, so she had to call the police and report the incident. The next day, Bachmeier got a call from the police that a man who was responsible for abducting a young girl had been arrested. This is when Bachmeier's world would start crumbling. This man, identified as Klaus Gabrowski, was a 35-year-old butcher, whose home Anna had visited before to play with his cats as they were neighbors. He was also a convicted sex offender and had previously been sentenced for sexual abuse of 2 girls. In 1976, he voluntarily submitted to chemical castration, though it was later revealed that he subsequently underwent hormone treatment to try and reverse the castration. His fiancée had called the police when she found the body of a bound young girl. It was later revealed that Anna was held for several hours at his home, while he sexually assaulted her and ultimately strangled her with a pair of his fiancée's tights. According to the prosecutor, he then tied her up and packed her into a box, which he left on the shore of a canal. For a multiple offender and one who have served time, one would have expected him to stay far away from the crime, especially sexual crimes. But he chose to strike again, and this time with a child everyone described as a happy child. You would never have guessed the unbelievable turn of events that took place after his arrest. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please go ahead and pause this video to do so. Upon his arrest, Gabrowski informed the police that Anna had threatened to tell her mother that he had abused her if he didn't give her money. So he killed her out of fear of going back to prison. As the trial commenced, Marianne was faced with a justice system that seemed indifferent to the pain of victims and their families. Despite overwhelming evidence against Gabrowski, including eyewitness testimonies and forensic evidence, the trial took a shocking turn when, in his defense, Gabrowski's attorney claimed that he was on hormonal therapy and his actions were a result of the hormonal imbalance he was experiencing. This defense tilted the court's impression of the case and looked like he was either going to get an acquittal or less sentence. And for Marianne, this was a grave miscarriage of justice, a betrayal of everything that she held dear. it was a moment that would have broken many, driving them into the depths of despair. But for Marianne, it was a call to action, a declaration that she would not rest until her daughter's murder was brought to justice. On the 6th of March 1981, the third day of the trial, at around 10 a.m. in her quest for justice, Bachmeier smuggled a Beretta 70 into the courtroom of Lubeck District Court, room 157, and fatally shot Gabrowski. She aimed the gun at his back and fired 7 times. 6 shots hit Gabrowski, who was killed almost instantly. Bachmeier then lowered her gun and was apprehended without resistance. While Bachmeier was held in custody, many sent messages of support, gifts, and flowers to indicate their understanding of her conduct. The incident was one of the most well-known cases of vigilante justice in West German history. It sparked extensive media coverage. Television crews from around the country and overseas traveled to Lubeck to report on the case. Nonetheless, some still believe that a constitutional state should not condone vigilante justice. Bachmeier sold her life story for about 100,000 Deutsche Marks to the news magazine Stern. With the fee, she covered her legal costs. On the 2nd of November 1982, Bachmeier was initially charged in court with murder. Later, the prosecution dropped the murder charge. After 28 days of negotiation, the board agreed on the verdict. 4 months after the opening proceedings, she was convicted on the 2nd of March 1983 by the Circuit Court Chamber of the District Court of Lubeck for manslaughter and unlawful possession of a firearm. The defense's argument that the act was not premeditated and mostly upheld by the court. She was sentenced to 6 years in prison, but was released after serving 3. Bachmeier married a teacher in 1985. 3 years later, they moved to Lagos in Nigeria and lived in a German camp where her husband taught at a German school. They got divorced in 1990, after which she relocated to Sicily and was employed as an aide in a hospice in Palermo. In Sicily, she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and had to move back to Germany. In 1994, 13 years after the shooting, Bachmeier gave an interview to Deutschland Funk radio station. The same year, her autobiography appeared with the German publisher Schnecklu Verlag. On the 21st of September 1995, she appeared on the television talk show Fliege on Das Erst, where she admitted to shooting Gabrowski after careful consideration to enforce the law on him and prevent him from further spreading lies about Anna. Bachmeier never expressed remorse for her act of vengeance. Before her death, Bachmeier asked reporter Lucas Maria Boehmer of the Norddeutscher Rundfunk broadcast station to accompany her and film the last stages of her life. On the 17th of September 1996, Bachmeier died at the age of 46 from pancreatic cancer in a hospital in Lubeck. She's buried next to her daughter Anna in Bergter Cemetery, Lubeck. Marianne Bachmeier's unwavering commitment to justice inspired a nation and transformed the way society viewed victims' rights. Her courage in the face of adversity, her refusal to be silenced, and her relentless pursuit of truth served as a beacon of hope for all those who seek justice in an often imperfect world. But this begs the question, was this just about revenge for her, or something else? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. That's all for today's video. What do you think about this case? Let us know in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please hit the subscribe icon, and don't forget to like the video, turn on post notifications, and share it with your friends and family.